Olá, pessoal. I'm speaking in Portuguese, I'm sorry. I see there are some people live. Just gonna wait a few more minutes. Morning, Davi. Do you hear me well? Okay, perfect, awesome. So good morning for those who are in Brazil, good afternoon for those who are in Europe, and good evening for folks based in Asia, like myself right now, after spending a couple of weeks in the cold weather. I'm glad to be back in the heat of Bali. I'm very excited for this transmission, for this masterclass. And if you haven't grabbed a glass of water, feel free to do that, as we're going to be sitting here for like an hour or so. So feel free to grab a glass of water and come back here maybe in a minute or two before the others will have time to join us. Who is here and waiting for the live? Just drop a little emoji in the comment. Good morning. Good evening for me here. You know, these lives, they take time until like everyone starts to join. So just gonna wait a couple of minutes more until everyone is here before we start. And for those who stay until the end, I have a little surprise, a little gift for you as a gesture of gratitude for you to take the time of joining me in this masterclass today. But that's why I'm asking you for you to stay until the end. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Bruna, Eddie, Nira. It's good evening for you. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time, for being here. As I said, I'm very excited to have you guys here with me today. Just gonna wait like a minute or two, and then we'll be ready to kick this off. I know you guys have busy schedules ahead of your day, especially for those who are in Europe and in Brazil. Okay, I think we are ready to start. I am going to share my screen with you. Just 1 second. I hope you're seeing my screen. Okay, so as I said, thank you everyone for joining this masterclass. This was a product of hard work and from learning from my own experience and the experience that I had working with my clients, that they have tried different productivity hacks and meditation while they were experiencing chronic stress and approaching burnout, and they figured out that this doesn't work. And I have experienced that myself until I realized that, okay, those things are not working. They work for a week or two and then they stop. And why is that? And then I figured out on my own journey why, and I'd like to share that with you today. And I hope you leave this masterclass with, if anything, if you live this masterclass, you live with a knowledge and a sense that if you're trying things to heal burnout and chronic stress, and if you've been pushing really hard, this is not your fault. That's the only thing that I would like to share with you today. So this masterclass will be a practical nervous system informed approach to stress and burnout and overstimulation. So today we'll be covering what burnout actually is and how it sneaks in a quiet way, why modern life keeps our nervous system stuck in survival mode, why meditation apps and productivity tools most of the time fail, especially when we're facing stress, a simple practice to help you calm your system on the spot, and I will be glad to share with you a live guided meditation, and as I mentioned in the beginning, a little bonus for those who stay until the end, as a way to thank you for participating in this masterclass with me today. So if you're here, you most likely are a busy professional or a high achiever, a person who works really hard to get things done and achieve success in your life. You might be feeling overwhelmed by constant pressure and input that might be loads of time scrolling through your phone or even any sort of screen. People who are also feeling overstimulated or approaching a burnout state. Your life might also look great on paper. You might have a good job and a great salary, but inside you feel stuck and empty. This is also for those who have tried everything to deal with stress and burnout, but they are simply not working anymore. And for anyone who senses that success shouldn't cost their health and well-being. Yes, this is a big one. I've heard a lot of people saying that they're dealing with health issues. I've dealt with health issues myself when I had my burnout, but that's I'm going to share this in a minute with you. As I mentioned in the beginning, burnout and chronic stress are not a personal failure. So this is a big thing for those who are feeling like they achieved a point that, oh my God, this is too much, and they keep pushing because they have a sense that if they stop, they are failing. I want to tell you this is not about you, and this is not your fault. This is a nervous system adaptation to prolonged stress. So what do you mean by that, Camila? Before I dive into it, I want to share with you what is really burnout, because burnout turned into this buzzword that everyone is talking about. It feels like everyone is burning out, everyone is stressed out. But what is really burnout, you might ask? So burnout is not something that happens overnight. It's a result of prolonged stress. So the higher the pressure and the demands of your life, it could be outside of work, it could be from work, and plus the lack of recovery, you might start ignoring the needs of your body. So let's say your body is communicating with you that it's stressed out, that it's tired, that needs rest, but you're ignoring the needs of your body. That leads to a constant overload, a constant a state of being stressed out. That will lead into increased detachment. This is one of the first signs of burnout. And then you will be faced with chronic exhaustion, and boom, you are faced with probably a meltdown, a burnout situation. Just by ignoring the needs in the first place, it feels like it's a domino effect. So let's travel to 200,000 years ago to understand why stress itself, or cortisol, is not the villain like people like to say on the internet nowadays. So let's say that 200,000 years ago, we are cavemans and we are going out to hunt for food. And then, you bump into a lion, the lion's trying to eat you. And the first sign that the body encounters whenever you face a lion or a bear or any animal is trying to take your life is by entering our fight or flight mode. And by entering a fight or flight mode, the cortisol level, which is the stress hormone, goes up. You are inundated with stress in the body, and then you have two options. You either fight the lion or you run. I wouldn't say fight the lion because, it's not very smart, right? So I would recommend you to run. So you run, and then you go and find a shelter. You shelter and you find yourself in a safe place. Let's say you find a cave, and then, the body perceives that it's a safe place, and then you can finally go back to baseline, which means that a cortisol level is also going back to baseline and rest. What happens nowadays is that we don't have a lion in the corner. We don't have a lion trying to eat you alive. So what we have is traffic, we have emails, we have constant notifications, we have toxic environments, we have toxic jobs, we have toxic bosses, we have endless messages, annoying and not important meetings. So that also triggers stress and cortisol levels. The difference from 200,000 years ago is that we had time to rest and recover the cortisol, and cortisol would go back to baseline. But now, from the moment that we wake up to the moment that we go to bed, we are faced with those stressful things 24/7. We don't give time for our body to release nor to run. So cortisol is always up, 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 which means that stress is always up, up, up as well. And what happens when you cannot, when we don't allow the body to rest and reset? So when the stress response gets activated, let's say whenever you open your eyes and then you go back to bed, there is no physical or mental discharge. So, which means there is no return to safety, there's no cave anymore, and the body stays on alert. And you might be wondering, oh yeah, Camilla, but 200,000 years ago, the brain was one way and the brain is operating a completely different way. No. The brain didn't change the way that we'd like to think. So stress levels are still being, cortisol and the stress levels are still being operating in the body the same way that it used to happen in the same way. So the brain hasn't adapted to that, to the modern life, let's put it that way. So when that happens, when we don't give our body the time to rest and reset, what happens is the chronic stress comes up, and then eventually burnout also pops up. And that manifests in our body as feeling tired even after you rest. You might wake up, feeling exhausted. You might sleep over during the weekends. You might sleep for 9 or 10 hours. That used to happen to me. And still wake up feeling absolutely tired. You might have difficulty to focus or being present with yourself, being present with your loved ones. You might have brain fog and difficulty to focus. You might feel disconnected from yourself and from your body. You might feel like life is too demanding, but you don't know how to slow down. I even had a client that she had difficulties to socialize with her friends. She didn't want to leave the house. She had difficulties to cook, and even basic chores was demanding for her during her burnout situation. So if you find yourself in that, you might think, okay, how can I solve this? So you might go to YouTube, right? That's what we do, YouTube and ChatGPT, and then you might ask for a productivity hack on how to deal with those situations, right? So, and then they might work for a week or two, and then they stop working. But why they fail? Why productivity hack does not work for chronic stress and burnout? First of all, because they ignore the emotional load. What does that mean? It means that if your body is already running on fumes and you are absolutely stressed out because you are with high level of cortisol running in your body 24/7, and you're trying a productivity hack, you're just ignoring the emotional state, the problem to begin with, the root cause. They also add pressure to you, which means that this is something else to do, another thing to put on my to-do list. It doesn't deal with the capacity of you, whether you're able to do this or not. They also rely on willpower. So with the productivity hacks, you have to rely on yourself, on your own motivation to make it work. But if you're already depleted and if you're already absolutely exhausted, how are you going to find motivation to have a productivity hack working for you? That doesn't make sense. So at the end of the day, they optimize output, they don't optimize regulation of the body. The same thing happens for meditation. So some of you might have tried a meditation app or a guided meditation on YouTube because you might have heard that, oh, maybe this helps with my chronic stress and my burnout. But why does meditation often fail? At least not the way that is usually thought. They might fail because they turn into another task to complete. In other words, if you have a meditation app, they might tell you that you have to complete this meditation challenge for 30 days, and then you feel like you have to meditate for 20 minutes every day, otherwise that's not going to work. So that adds more into your plate and into your body that is already stressed out. They also gamify the presence and the progress. As I said, if one day you cannot meditate, you feel like you're failing. So that's not what we want to do here for someone who's already stressed out. They aim for relaxation, not regulation. So let's say you find a guided meditation on an app that is like a 10 to 15 minutes meditation, and you feel absolutely relaxed and calm during that practice, but then you have 23 hours and 30 minutes left of your day that you are still stressed out. So you open your eyes, you get out of the meditation, and you have the rest of your day to deal with your stress. So you're just relaxed for that period of time. So, I mean, it doesn't address the root cause. And what about the other approaches? I mean, you might have tried therapy, you might have tried gym, you might have tried, different approaches out there, and they might tell you that you need to slow down, you need to relax, you need to think positively, you need to repeat this, affirmations, these positive things here and there. But again, this is just touching the tip of the iceberg. And that might sound that I am like, sorry about the word, shitting in all of the practices. But the problem is that if you have a band-aid approach to a problem that is very, very rooted and very, very deep, you won't have lasting results. So it's the same thing that you have, let's say, a very bad disease, a chronic disease, a terminate disease, and you're trying to solve that by taking ibuprofen or paracetamol. And you might solve the pain for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour or so, but then the pain will come back because you haven't addressed the root cause. It's the same thing with chronic stress and burnout. If you're slowing down without rewiring the nervous system, you're actually going to increase anxiety and you won't have lasting results. And again, it feels like I'm shitting in all of the practices, but what happens is, what is the hidden assumption of those people who are creating all these hacks and this meditation? They assume that people who come to them are people who have nervous system that are already regulated. In other words, the chronic tools and this meditation and the hacks and who are quote unquote normal, for people who don't have high level of stress and cortisol in their body. So that's why it works well for them. But for folks who are approaching a burnout situation, that's not going to work for them. And that's the problem. So what's the missing layer here? What's the missing piece of this game? I would say that before you try and change any habit, before you try and change your mindset or adding any productivity hack into your plate, you need to regulate your nervous system first. If you're going through chronic stress or a burnout situation, you need to address the root cause. You can't have a band-aid approach to something that is much, much deeper. So in other words, stress needs interruption. When stress hits, two things happen. Your thinking gets more narrow and you become more reactive. So in other words, we need practice. We need to do things that address that. I'm going to ask you guys to grab your phone. I want to practice something real quick with you. It's not going to take too long, I promise. In the 60 seconds, ask you to grab your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can open the clock and go to the timer. If you have another phone, I'm sure you can find the clock there. And you set up a 1 minute timer, but don't press play right now because we're going to do this together. I'm going to give you a few seconds to go there and find that. Okay, if you found that, before we open our phones and set up the timer and press play, I'm going to give you the instructions of how this is going to work for you. So during the 60 seconds, I want you to count your breaths. So you're going to breathe for each breath, inhale and exhale, you're going to count as one. So for example, inhale for 1, exhale for 1. Inhale. The goal is, it doesn't matter how many 100 breaths in 1 minute, it doesn't matter. What we want to do, what we want to achieve here is the ability to focus and to stop on the spot. In other words, if you are facing a situation that you're absolutely stressed out and your mind is spiraling down and you can't stop to, let's say, focus before a meeting, before anything, and you need to stop that spiraling mind, you can use this tool. Okay, so let's practice together. You can press the 1 minute now and start counting. So the minute is up. You can stop your clocks now. And I would like you to share here on the chat how many breaths you counted. And again, that's no right or wrong here. If you counted 5, 10, 20, it doesn't really matter. What matters is you can grab this tool and you can put it in your back pocket, and then you can resource to it whenever your mind is spiraling down. We want to stop the stress process. Remember that I said here, stress needs interruption. So once you can do that, you can allow your brain to reset. Remember, we need to allow the body to reset. Otherwise, the cortisol levels are always very, very high in our bodies. So this is my favorite power practice together. And don't worry, if you've never meditated, it's going to be very, very nice. So find a comfortable seated position. And let's take a couple of deep breaths together. Before that, just close your eyes and just arrive here first. You're seated on a couch. You might be seated on the floor as well. Just allow you one more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. I'm going to guide you through a little breath. Exhale all out. Let's begin. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 5, 6. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 6. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last round. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 5, 6. Allow your breath come back to its natural rhythm. Keep your eyes closed as you allow. And you might observe if your breathing is slightly different from what it was when we started the practice. And see if there are any places of tension that you want to relax and let go. Now I'd like to invite you to bring your mind to a situation that might have happened recently, that you felt emotionally stuck, one that brought a difficult reaction to your body, such as anger, anxiety, guilt, or self-judgment. Maybe a conflict at work, with a family member, a tough conversation that you had with someone. Doesn't matter what it was. But for the purpose of this meditation, don't choose something that was absolutely difficult or painful. If it's absolutely overwhelmed, you can shift your attention away from the practice and come back to your breath. And now, with whatever situation you have chosen, take some moments to come back to that experience and enter it fully. You might visualize the scene, the most distressing moments that experience brought to you. And you might remind yourself of the worst parts of this and what were you afraid or distressed by. And you can start recognizing what happened. And you might ask yourself, what is happening inside of me right now? And pay attention to whatever emotion you might feel. Anger, you might feel guilt, you might feel fear. Just see what is the most predominant feeling for you here right now. And as you recognize this emotion, let's take a deep breath together just to allow it to be here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out. That it's okay to have this experience here. So you might whisper the word is allowed. We just allow. We just want to allow things as they are. And if come back to the emotion, if your mind is trying to push away from that difficult emotion, just come back to it. And let's try and experience this with a beginner's mind, with a curious mind. And you might ask yourself, what about this what about with that emotion, this emotion, or specific part of your body that is calling you right now? And with a hand on your heart, you may ask this emotion, what do you need with you? Needs my understanding. If you're drifting away, that is absolutely fine. Again, we're not trying to things to be as they are. Just allow the touch of your hand at your heart. And let's offer the same love and kindness to this emotion that wants your attention and your understanding. Like, I'm sorry. I'm okay right now. And I feel the experience of befriending this emotion. It might be a spiritual figure, an ancestor, in a clockwise direction. It's taking over your whole head and it's taking over your whole body. Bubble, this green light of love and compassion. Remember that this space is always within to energy. You can maybe feel it calm and peace. it by touching your heart and allowing this presence to be there with you. Smaller and smaller, and now it's coming back to the middle of your chest and becoming a little dot. Again, a green dot in the chest, in the middle of your. And with your eyes still closed, you can bring your hands together in a prayer position in front of your chest. You can rub your hands together and feel the warmth of your hands. And as you feel the energy increasing, you can place your hands on your eyes, cupped hands on your closed eyes. And then you slowly open your eyes and see the darkness of your closed eyes. And then you can release your hands and come back to the present moment. I'd like to share your experience. I can't see the screen right now because I'm sharing the presentation, but feel free to drop here in the chat in one word how you're feeling right now after this, or guilt or fear. So it's a good source. The presence also will return. You will feel more present with yourself, with your body, with your needs, restore your energy and all of that. And why this happens, why regulation returns to the body, because and the regulation supports the system underneath, which is exactly, could be you, and this was me. Yes, this was me after my second burnout, probably working like 60 hours a week. And I had my first meltdown back in 2020, middle of the night, with my mind racing else that needs to be integrated. So it's not a work that requires you to pause your life, to abandon your job. You just need a couple of hours every week, and slowly, lo and behold, you'll be able to. And just like those two systems that we work now, the guided meditation and the 60-second pause, you have different tools that you can practice, and you can fit that into your busy real life again. So if you're ready for a deeper support, feel free to scan the QR code right now, and then you can book a one-on-one consultation with me. It will be a steady container that helps you to slowly recover. It's not a magic fix. It's not a magic pill. So it's a process that helps you to get there. There's no such thing as not on your phone. Please feel free to drop a message in the helpful in your meditation practice, in your meditation journey, whether that be the first time or not. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to scan the code. And if you're not, if you're on your phone and you can't scan again, just drop a comment here in the chat, and I will find a way to give you a link, to send you the link from this form. So thank you everyone for being here. I am opening a few minutes for a Q&A. If you have any questions, please drop them right now. I'm going to close this presentation so I can go back to the chat. And do you guys have any questions that you would like to share, or you'd like to ask about a meditation circle or the program? Feel free to drop here in the chat. There was you weren't able to see the presentation or the meditation? Okay, so you saw it. All good, right? Okay, I'm glad to see that you guys feel more grounded right now. And yeah, if you don't have any questions, or if you have and you would like to drop me a DM, feel free to do so. And for those who didn't have time to scan the QR code for the meditation, again, drop a message here, or feel free to DM me and I'll be happy to send you the link. But again, thank you so much for taking the time, being here with me today. I love sharing this with you guys. And for those who didn't have time to watch, you can come back to this link that will be in the description. It will be on my channel. So for those who are not subscribed to my channel, you can go back here. I think there is someone somewhere else here, like the Grounded Way. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. And I'm dropping guided meditations every week, besides the live guided meditations that I'll be doing with you guys who are joining the free meditation circle. But other than that, I am happy with your presence here today. And I think it's time to go. So once again, I'm sending you a big hug to everyone who is here, and speak soon. Bye-bye.